Today we're going to talk about how you ask someone how old they are and how they would respond to that. All right, so to ask somebody their age, you say tu as quel âge? Répétez. Tu as quel âge? This means how old are you? It also literally means you have what or which age. Remember, we use tu with someone we're informal with one person only. So, like a little sister or a friend. If you would say sir or ma'am with somebody, you don't use this form. All right, then to respond, you would say j'ai. You would insert the number of years and then en. J'ai en. Or j'ai 10 ans, for example, would mean I'm 10 years old. So this translates as I am years old. Literally, what they're saying is I have, you put your number in, 10, and then en means years. So you want to make sure you include the word en, because if you don't, if you just say j'ai 10, then it sounds like they don't know what you have 10 of. You might have 10 cats. Nobody knows. You have to include the word en. So you're saying I have 10 years, which translates as I am 10 years old. Let's practice. Tu as quel âge? J'ai en. All right, so let's talk about if someone, for example, let's do some practice exercises. If someone, for example, is 12, if they asked you, if they said tu as quel âge, how would you respond to that? What's your answer going to be? Well, we know we want to use j'ai and en. So the first thing you want to remember is that the word for 12 is 12. So how would you do that? How would you put that together? Right, what you're going to say is j'ai 12 ans. J'ai 12 ans. And you can also, when you write it, you can write it with just the number in there. Okay, so let's talk about, let's say that the person you're asking is 15, which is 15. How would they answer if you said tu as quel âge? How would they respond to you? Right, they're going to say j'ai 15 ans. That's all it is. You put the number in between. All right, so now let's look at how you ask about someone else. If you want to ask about in third person, use il or elle. Il is for he, elle is for she. How old is he or she? Is il a quel âge? How old is he? Elle a quel âge? How old is she? Répétez. Il a quel âge? Elle a quel âge? Literally, they're saying he has which age, she has which age. And then to respond, it's the same as before. We want to make sure you don't forget the en, which means years. And you would say il a en, elle a en. And you put your number in. Okay, so if I wanted to ask about Thomas, we're going to say that Thomas is 14. Okay, so Thomas is 14. How would I ask in French if I didn't know that? What would be the question? Well, I would say how old is he? Il a quel âge? Il a quel âge? And then to respond, if we're talking about him in the third person, we would say he is 14. So how would you say that? Right, you would say il a, and then put your number in, 14 ans. Il a 14 ans. All right, so let's do a female one. Let's say that Sophie is 9 years old. So Sophie is 9 years old. We want to ask about her in the third person. How would we say, how old is she? Okay, yes, what you want to say is you want to say elle for she, a quel âge. So how old is she, or she has which age? So then to respond, we want to say she is 9 years old. How would you say that? Right, you're going to say elle a 9 ans. Elle a 9 ans. That's it. Elle a 9 ans.